Have you ever wanted to build a location-aware web application but didn't know where to start? In this video, we are diving into Django PostGIS project, a powerful template for integrating spatial data into your Django application. Whether you are tracking delivery routes, mapping user-generated content, or analyzing geographic data, this project combines Django's flexibility with PostGIS advanced spatial database capabilities to get you up and running quickly. By the end of this video, you will learn on how to set up a geospatial Django backend and on how to create PostgreSQL. So in this video, you need to have PostgreSQL installed in your machine, and then let's get started first. As usual, for every project, you have to create a virtual environment. So to create a virtual environment, you have to ensure that you have Python installed in your machine. So for me, I have Python 3.13, so we can check the version of Python that is installed. So you can see I have Python 1.13.2 installed. And then let's check the version of PostgreSQL. So PSQL version. You can see I have version 17.4 of PostgreSQL. This is very important when we are going to install PostGIS in our machine so that we can create an extension for this PostgreSQL database. Once you have checked that, ensure that you record this. You record your PostgreSQL version somewhere. We are going to use it in a short while. Next, now let's create our virtual environment for this project. So to do that, use Python 3.13 and then VNV stands for virtual environment, and give it a virtual environment name. I'm going to give it .env. Hit enter and wait for some few seconds for that environment to be generated. You can see the environment has been generated. Okay. The next thing before we install Django, we need to activate the virtual environment. So to activate the virtual environment is source, and then the virtual environment name, go to the bin, then activate. Hit enter. You can see the environment has been activated. Once the environment has been activated, we need to install Django. So we'll say pip install Django. Few seconds, Django to install. So Django has been installed. So let's create now our project. So to create a project is Django admin start project, and then let's give it a name. Let me give it geo. Okay, let's now change directory to the geo. Clear. And then if we can open our project, you can see we have some files automatically created. Okay, so we have these settings, we have URLs, we have SGI, we have WSGI, which these two files are for servers gateway. We have settings file, which will contain the project settings. We have URLs, which will contain the pathways of this project. And then we have manage.py. This is a file that helps us to communicate or interact with the terminal. Okay. And then next thing that we need to do is now create I will open my terminal. We need to create a database for this. So clear. Let me clear this. So as I said earlier, this project is a Django based application that leverages PostGIS for geospatial data management. So here are the steps. So as I said earlier, we have prerequisites. You need to have Python installed in your machine. You as well need to have PostgreSQL installed your machine. And then we have created our Django application, our project. And then I have shown you how to check your PostgreSQL version. So we can repeat that. So it is PSQL and then version. You can see I'm running on version 17.4. So ensure the version supports PostGIS. So this version supports it. The next thing that we need to do is now we need to set up the database. First, we need to create PostgreSQL database. To do that, I'm going to use sudo. If you are on Linux, the same thing, and Mac OS, and as well I think for Windows. So So it will be sudo u and then say postgres, and then we need to create the DB. So I'll say create DB, and then let's give that DB a name. So we'll say GeoDB, okay, GeoDB, and then let's give it ownership. Okay, so the ownership I have a user called Sniper, so I will enter, input my password to confirm that this DB has been created. Let me use pgadmin4 to try to connect to it and see if it has been created. Here on the servers, I will click and try to register a new server. I'll say this is GeoDB, and then connection. This will be localhost, so localhost, and then the port will remain to 5432, and then the maintainers database, I will give the one that we gave, which was GeoDB, so GeoDB, and then the username, I'll give the name. So the owner, I give it Sniper, so it will be Sniper, and then pass in the password of this username. So the password for that, I have it, and then let me save. You can see we have connected GeoDB. That means our database was successfully created. Okay, you can see we have that database. It is right here, this one. Okay, this is our database. Okay, this. So we have successfully created. So if we try to open this and try to go to the extensions, because PostGIS is an extension, so we go to the extensions here. You can see we only have these one extension. Once we create the PostGIS extension, we will be able to see that extension right here. Okay, so let's go back to the terminal. Let's go back to the terminal here. Now we need to install PostGIS, and remember we had checked the version of PostgreSQL installed in our version. That is why I told you earlier that you need to record this version, so that we are going to use it to install PostGIS. So now let's install PostGIS. To do that, we'll say sudo apt-get install PostGIS, and then PostgreSQL, and then dash. So here we need to ensure that we input the version. If you have version 10, you can put that. For me, I have version 17, so I'm going to insert 17 there. Okay, and then say PostGIS 3. Okay, so ensure to replace this with your installed PostgreSQL version. So for me, you can see I have version 17, so that is the one that I have replaced it here. So ensure to replace this 17 with your PostgreSQL version that is installed in your machine. Then click enter, supply it with your password, give it some few seconds. You can see mine is already installed. Okay, so I don't have to install it again. You can see it is on the newest version and it is already installed. If yours is not installed, it will install through that command. The main idea here is to ensure that you replace the 17 with your correct installed version of PostgreSQL in your machine. Once we have done that, now we have installed PostGIS extension. Now we need to enable this PostGIS extension inside our database. So to do that, so we need to say sudo, then u, and then we say Postgres, and then PSQL, and then we say D, we flag it, and then we specify the database that we want to have this extension in. Remember our database name was GeoDB. Okay, that was our database name. Let's confirm. You can see our database name is GeoDB. So once we do that, let's now have this extension of C create, and then we pass in create extension PostGIS. Okay, and then we close that quotation. So we have sudo u postgres PSQL flagged with D and then we passed in our specific database that we want this extension to be in, and then we create extension PostGIS and hit enter. You can see extension created. So if we can go here, let me try to refresh this. So refresh, you can see we have PostGIS extension reflecting here. Okay, so you can see our database, we have two extensions. We have created another extension called PostGIS. Okay, now the next step that we want to do now, let's now configure Django settings and update the database configuration in settings.py. So we'll go back to the settings.py here. Okay, and then we need to ensure that we configure this PostGIS to be used as our database. Okay, so now we scroll down to our database list. Here is our database. First, we need to change this. We want to use PostGIS as our engine. So I will remove this. So to change that, we need to say, so to change this, the engine, we need to change the engine from SQLite to PostGIS. So we'll say django.contrib.gis.backends.postgis. So this is our engine, and then let's have the name. Let me remove this because we need to define the name of our DB. So the DB that we created is GeoDB. Okay, and then we also have the user. So you say user. Our user was Sniper, and then we have the password of that user. So password, the password, my password was Sniper 84, that one. And then we also have host. We say host was localhost. And then lastly, we need to define the port at which this database will be listening from. So the port is 54. Now let's test this and see if this database configuration is working. To do this, we need to perform migration. So we go back to the terminal here and say Python manage.py migrate, hit enter. Okay, we forgot to install this psychopg2. So to remove that error, because we are using PostgreSQL and PostgreSQL depends on psychopg2 as the adapter. So we'll say pip. You can look that up. You can go to here Python package index and say psychopg2. You search it there. You can see the name of these. Let me confirm the name of these. Let me run migrate psychopg2. Let me copy this and then go to Python package index, paste it there. So we have this and we have this. Okay, so what we want is this. So it's a Python package. Sometimes you may find that when you install this, it won't work. So it is better you can use the standalone package, which does not require a compiler or external library. So I'm going to use this because this does not have to require the compiler. So I'm going to install pip install psychopg2 binary. So go back to my terminal, VS Code terminal, and then paste that there and then install. Okay. If you are using PostgreSQL as database, you must install these, okay, because this is a Python adapter for PostgreSQL database connection. So let's clear this. Now let's try to run migrate. So here we'll say Python manage.py. Sorry for that. So Python manage.py migrate. So you can see the migration has happened. So if we can go to our pgadmin4 and then check the database, the tables that have been created under the schemas, we go to tables. We will be able to see the tables that have been created. You can see auth group, we have permissions, we have auth users, we have all these sessions. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, let's go to these auth users, and let's view the table rows. So you can see right now we don't have any user created. Now let's create a super user so that we can see if that super user will be created here. So we go back to the terminal, and here we create our admin. So we say python manage.py create super user. Then let's give this super user admin and then email, and then let's have the password. Okay, the super user has been created. Let's run the server. So python manage.py run server. Okay, so you can see the server is running successfully. So if we go here to the users and let me execute this, you can see we have one user created. You can see the username is admin, we have the email, and we can see the date that this user joined. Okay, so that means our connection with the PostGIS as our database backend, it is working. Now let's see how PostGIS can be integrated to the project. Okay, so to do that, we need to test it in our models. So let me clear this, and then let me create the app and say Django admin start app, and call this app my app. So once you create an app, you need to add that app name inside the installed apps. So we say my app. Okay, now let's open my app, and inside our models, let's define the app. Okay, so inside the models here, let's say you want to have locations. Okay, you want to use PostGIS point field for geospatial data. So first we need let me remove all this. This is an example. So this is a basic setup for this. So we need to import models from GIS. So we say from django.contrib.gis.db import models, and then we want to get the location. So we'll say class location, and then inside that locations can say models.model. Okay, and then let's say we have something like name equals to models dot char field. So it will take the character field, and then we have to define the max length. So max length to be 255, and then let's have something like description, and then the description will take the text field. So it will be models dot text field, and then lastly we want to have the location. So the location will be the point. Okay, so here we will use point field. So point field is the one that will store the coordinates, that is latitudes and longitudes of the location. So we'll use point fields. So we'll say models dot point field. Okay, so using PostGIS point field for geospatial data, and then let's return something. So we'll say string, and then return self dot name. Okay, and then lastly we need to register these. We need to register that model. So we'll say from dot models import location, and then we say admin dot site dot register location. Okay, now let's run this and say clear. So we say python manage.py make migrations first. Migrations, let me spell that. So python manage.py make migrations. Okay, we have that migrations. Now let's migrate that migration so that those changes can be made in our database. So we say python manage.py migrate. Okay, now let's run the server. So python manage.py run server. As well, we can use our pg admin to check. Let's refresh these tables. You can see my app location. It is right here. Okay, so you can see everything about it. We can as well view the table, the rows. So you can see we don't have any data yet. So you can see this is a view of all geometrics. Okay, so this will contain the entire location that will be entered. Okay, so with that now let's log into the backend and say 127. Then we want to go to the admin. The username was admin. They'll supply the password, and so we go to the locations here and then try to add the location. We have this why is it? Yes, so we are getting this because we have not added GIS to the installed apps. So let's go back to the settings. Inside the installed settings, above the app, we need to add GIS for PostGIS. So we'll say Django.contrib. So Django.contrib.gis. So this is very important. This is required. This is required for PostGIS. So let me comment this. Say required for PostGIS. Once we do that, and now let's try to refresh this. Yes, nice. Now it's working. So you can see we have the map here. Okay, so if I zoom out, we'll be able to see the world map. Okay. And then you will be able to pinpoint the location that someone is based on the longitude and latitude. So when you create the front end, when the user enters the longitude and latitude, this point will automatically pin the location of that user. Okay, so for example, if we add this in that location, let's move it here. Say we are in this location. Let's give it the name. Let me even that and have some description. Okay, so it cannot be numbers. My location, can say my location, and then let's save this. Okay, so we have that. If we go to PostG here and then we query that, you can see we have the name, mitigation, my location is here, and you can see the geometry of that location. Okay, you can see the longitude and latitude. So let's try to open this in a map. You will be able to see where it was pinpointed using these. So from here now you can create your web application, since now you have known how to install and configure your PostGIS to your project. Now you can create views as you want. You can calculate the distance, you can calculate the routes, the exact location. A lot of features can come from here. So for this video, we are not going to move into that. For this video was basically on how to configure PostGIS in your project. So okay, so yes, now you can configure it. You can calculate the distance. You can integrate it with your REST framework, like Django REST framework. So that is it for this video, just configuring your PostGIS in your Django project. And there you have it. With the Django PostGIS project, you can build robust geospatial application that leverages PostGIS advanced queries, Django scalability, and leaflets interactive maps. Okay, so don't forget to give it a thumbs up if this video you found it useful, and please subscribe to the channel so that you are the first person to get a notification whenever I post. So thanks for watching and happy coding.